Imagine two Ukrainian pilots racing through a deadly valley at just 100 meters altitude, their afterburners screaming against the morning sky as a Russian interceptor closes in from 40 kilometers away. In the next 15 minutes, they'll either destroy a critical enemy drone command center or watch their homeland get pummeled by coordinated strikes. This isn't just another military engagement. It's a chess match played at supersonic speeds where one wrong move means death, and the stakes couldn't be higher for millions of civilians below. Two Ukrainian MiG-29 fulcrums slice through the terrain-hugging flight path, their pilots knowing that survival depends on staying invisible to the web of air defenses waiting ahead. These aren't just any fighter jets. They're Soviet-era workhorses that have been adapted and upgraded for modern warfare, carrying sophisticated French-made AASM Hammer, precision-guided bombs toward a target that's been coordinating devastating drone attacks against Ukrainian cities for weeks. The mission briefing was crystal clear. Eliminate the Russian UAV command post near Kursk before it can launch another wave of Orlan reconnaissance drones. Intelligence reports showed 14 separate drone launches from a converted agricultural building, each one contributing to strikes against civilian infrastructure. The window of opportunity is narrow, and the defensive gauntlet they must penetrate is nothing short of terrifying. As the formation climbs to 200 meters and banks northeast, they're using the rolling hills of Kursk Oblast as natural radar camouflage. Every meter of their route has been meticulously planned by Ukrainian mission planners, exploiting gaps in Russian radar coverage that were identified through months of dangerous electronic reconnaissance missions. The pilots understand they're entering what military analysts consider one of the most heavily defended airspaces on Earth. The first sign of trouble emerges from an unexpected direction. A Russian S-400 battalion stationed near Kursk activates its massive 92N6E gravestone radar system, a truck-mounted surveillance array that can track multiple targets across hundreds of kilometers. This isn't your typical radar. It's a phased array system composed of hundreds of tiny antenna elements that can scan electronically without any moving parts, making it incredibly difficult to jam or destroy. The radar's electronic beam washes over the low-flying MiGs at 140 meters range. While it can't achieve a weapons-quality lock on such small, fast-moving targets flying this low, it detects something anomalous. That detection gets immediately flagged for investigation, setting off a chain reaction through the integrated Russian air defense network that will soon turn this valley into a killing field. The S-400's detection alert flows instantly through secure communication channels to a Russian Su-30 fighter already conducting dawn patrol 80 kilometers away. The Su-30 pilot, already airborne and alert, receives updated vectors directing him toward the detected anomaly. He doesn't need visual confirmation. His advanced BARS radar will resolve any low-flying targets against the terrain background, especially if they climb even briefly above the protective embrace of the rolling hills. Meanwhile, 20 kilometers ahead of the approaching MiGs, a Ukrainian Bayraktar TB2 drone orbits silently at 18,000 feet. For the past 6 hours, its MX-15D electro-optical sensor has been methodically documenting every movement around the target area. The drone operator, sitting in a climate-controlled van near Sumy, has counted 14 Orlan 10 reconnaissance drones launching from what appears to be a converted farm building, confirming intelligence assessments that this location serves as a major hub for coordinated drone operations. The TB2's presence serves dual purposes that exemplify modern combined arms warfare. Its satellite communication link provides real-time targeting updates to the approaching strike fighters, but more importantly, it acts as deliberate bait. Russian air defenses have developed an almost obsessive focus on shooting down these Turkish-made drones, often revealing their own positions in the process, a tactical vulnerability that Ukrainian forces have learned to exploit with deadly efficiency. Today, that strategy pays dividends when a Pantsir S-1 battery near Yokino takes the bait. The Mobile Air Defense System's radar illuminates to track the orbiting TB2, immediately broadcasting its precise location to Ukrainian electronic warfare assets monitoring the electromagnetic spectrum. The lead MiG-29 pilot watches his SPO-15 threat receiver spike with the Pantsir's radar signature and smoothly adjusts course 5 degrees eastward. This seemingly minor course correction places a low ridgeline between his aircraft and the SAM site, breaking the crucial line of sight needed for missile engagement. However, tactical maneuvering comes with costs. The deviation burns precious fuel and forces him to increase throttle settings to maintain the carefully planned strike timeline. The increased engine noise propagates through the morning air like an acoustic signature that sharp-eared defenders might detect. A legacy Russian ground-based acoustic sensor, similar to Cold War-era systems designed to detect low-flying NATO aircraft, picks up the distinctive sound of jet engines at 30 kilometers range. These passive systems can't provide the precise targeting data needed for missile engagement, but they confirm something that Russian sector commanders feared. Hostile aircraft are approaching from the southwest, and they're flying the kind of low-altitude profile that suggests a serious strike mission. The acoustic detection flows rapidly to the regional command center, where a colonel immediately orders all air defense systems to maximum readiness. Suddenly, every radar operator across eastern Kursk Oblast begins scanning their assigned sectors with renewed intensity and focus. The electronic environment transforms from routine surveillance to active hunting mode, with dozens of radar systems beginning to paint the sky with overlapping coverage patterns. The Su-30 pilot receives updated vectors from ground control, his advanced radar still searching empty sky, but now with a much narrower search box defined by the acoustic detection. He descends to 5,000 meters and accelerates to Mach 1.2, positioning his aircraft for a high-speed intercept trajectory. In just 4 minutes, he'll be within range of his R-77 air-to-air missiles, and the Ukrainian pilots have far less time than they realized to complete their mission and escape. 15 kilometers from their target, the lead MiG-29 pilot faces a critical decision that will determine the mission's success or failure. The tactical plan calls for weapon release at 8,000 feet to maximize the Hammer bomb's impressive glide range. But climbing to that altitude means exposing themselves to every air defense system in the region. His SPO-15 threat receiver already shows multiple search radars painting his aircraft, and he knows that in 30 seconds, some of those will transition to the deadly track mode that precedes missile launch. The Ukrainian TB2 drone overhead suddenly executes a hard left turn as its operator spots a Tor M2 battery powering up in a tree line below. This mobile SAM system represents a particularly dangerous threat because unlike older systems that require continuous radar illumination, the Tor can acquire, track, and engage targets in under 8 seconds. Its 9mm 331 missiles are specifically engineered to intercept low-flying aircraft in cluttered radar environments, exactly the conditions these MiG pilots are facing. The lead MiG initiates a hard defensive turn away from the Tor's position, but this evasive maneuver plays directly into Russian tactical planning. By forcing the Ukrainian fighters to deviate from their carefully planned route, the Tor operator has pushed them toward another threat, a Buck M3 battery positioned on their eastern flank. It's a classic SAM trap, using one system to flush targets toward another in a deadly game of aerial billiards. The wingman's radar warning system explodes with alerts as the Buck's 9S-36M radar transitions from search to track mode. This modern phased array system can engage targets at 70 kilometers range, and both MiGs are well within that lethal envelope. But Ukrainian pilots have trained extensively for exactly this scenario, and instead of the expected defensive turn away from the threat, they do something that confuses the book's engagement algorithms. They turn toward the threat and accelerate, closing distance while dispensing metallic chaff strips designed to create false radar returns. This aggressive maneuver confuses the book's computer systems, which expect targets to flee rather than attack. By the time the human operator adjusts the engagement parameters, the MiGs have passed inside the system's minimum engagement range, creating a temporary sanctuary in the SAM site's defensive dead zone. However, the evasive maneuvering has cost them critical altitude and airspeed, energy they desperately need for effective weapons release. The TB-2 drone operator, watching the fighter's predicament unfold through his high-definition camera, takes decisive action. He commands the drone to activate its radar altimeter and weather radar simultaneously, creating electronic noise that floods Russian receivers across multiple frequency bands. This isn't sophisticated jamming by military standards, but it's enough to degrade radar performance for several crucial seconds. The tour operator loses his track in the electronic clutter, his screen suddenly filled with false returns and ghost targets. Using this improvised electronic smokescreen, the lead MiG-29 executes a zoom climb to 8,000 feet, trading kinetic energy for the altitude needed for optimal weapon release. At the apex of his climb, moving just above stall speed in a delicate balance between altitude and airspeed, he releases 2 Hammer bombs in rapid succession. The weapons separate cleanly from their wing pylons, their rocket motors igniting after a precisely timed delay. The pilot immediately pushes the nose forward in a dramatic diving maneuver, trading altitude for the airspeed he'll need to survive the gauntlet of missiles that his radar warning receiver says are already heading his way. The Hammer bombs, sophisticated tri-mode guidance systems, activate during their powered flight phase. GPS provides primary navigation initially, but Russian electronic warfare systems are flooding the L1 and L2 satellite frequencies with jamming signals, rendering them completely unusable. The weapons automatically switch to their backup inertial navigation systems, using ring laser gyroscopes that maintain course accuracy within 3 meters even without satellite guidance. As the bombs approach their target, their infrared seekers activate, searching for the specific heat signatures that the TB-2 drone had identified and uploaded to their target memory banks. The second MiG-29 reaches release altitude just as a Buck M3 battery achieves solid radar lock. With only 5 seconds before missile launch, he ripples both hammers at a secondary target, a building that Ukrainian intelligence has identified as housing drone operator personnel. The weapons barely clear his aircraft before he snaps into a 7G diving turn, punching chaff and flares while his aircraft groans under the extreme maneuvering loads. 2 9M3117M missiles launch from the Buk system, accelerating to Mach 4 within seconds. These aren't the old semi-active missiles that required continuous radar guidance. They use active radar homing and can pull incredible G-forces in their terminal attack phase. The MiG pilot watches the missiles climb on his approach warning system display, calculating frantically. At his current speed and altitude, he has exactly 22 seconds to live unless he can defeat these weapons. He executes a last-ditch maneuver that pushes both his aircraft and his own physical limits. A vertical dive combined with aileron rolls that creates a corkscrew flight path designed to confuse missile guidance systems. This technique forces the pursuing missiles to constantly recalculate lead angles, while the aircraft's rapidly changing aspect degrades their radar returns. Combined with continuous chaff deployment, it creates enough tracking errors to defeat the first missile, which loses lock and self-destructs safely away from the target. But the second missile, launched just 3 seconds later, has learned from telemetry shared by the first weapon's guidance system. The second missile's seeker head predicts the spiral pattern and adjusts its intercept course accordingly. With impact imminent, the pilot pulls maximum Gs to reverse his spiral direction, a maneuver that runs the missile out of maneuvering energy just meters from his aircraft. The proximity fuse detonates 30 meters away, peppering his tail section with shrapnel, but miraculously, his engine continues running. Both aircraft race toward Ukrainian airspace at treetop level, their Hammer bombs now beyond recall and terminal on their targets. Behind them, the Su-30 fighter has closed to 40 kilometers and achieved radar lock, but the pilots' fight for survival has only just begun. The real test of their skill, luck, and equipment is about to unfold in the next few minutes. The lead pilot checks his fuel quantity, barely enough for 7 minutes at current power settings. The target lies 4 minutes ahead, but the Su-30 pilot has just acquired a solid tracking solution. His SPO-15 explodes with priority warnings as two R-77 active radar missiles separate from the pursuing fighter, their rocket motors driving them toward Mach 4 intercept speeds. These modern air-to-air weapons represent the cutting edge of missile technology. Unlike older systems that needed continuous guidance from the launching aircraft, the R-77s hunt autonomously once launched, their active radar seekers searching independently for targets. The Ukrainian pilots face a terrible tactical dilemma: climb and maneuver to defeat the missiles, but expose themselves to ground-based SAMs, or stay low and hope terrain masking disrupts the missile guidance systems. They choose to stay low, and the morning sun climbing above the horizon provides unexpected salvation. The lead pilot banks hard right, placing the brilliant solar disk directly behind his aircraft. The R-77 Seeker, designed to filter out ground clutter and focus on aircraft-sized targets, suddenly faces a massive infrared source thousands of times brighter than any jet engine. The pilot enhances this natural jamming by dispensing flares in a climbing spiral, creating a ladder of heat sources between his aircraft and the sun. The first missile's guidance algorithms struggle desperately to discriminate between the flares, the aircraft, and the sun itself. Eventually, it selects the brightest target, the sun, and climbs toward infinity, its warhead detonating harmlessly in the upper atmosphere. But the second missile, launched just 3 seconds after the first, has benefited from telemetry data shared before the first went off course. It ignores both the sun and the flares, boring in relentlessly on the MiG's engine heat signature. The wingman's radar warning receiver screams urgent tones as the missile closes at frightening speed. Impact in 6 seconds. At the last possible moment, he performs a modified Cobra maneuver, pulling the nose vertical while chopping his throttles to idle. The MiG hangs in the air like a hockey stick, its heat signature momentarily disappearing from the missile's seeker. The R-77 overshoots by mere meters, its proximity fuse failing to detect the nearly stationary target as it flashes past. As the missile passes, the pilot slams his throttles forward and dives for the deck, but the dramatic maneuver has alerted every Russian air defense system to their precise location. An S-400 battalion commander, monitoring the engagement from his command vehicle, sees an opportunity. At 90 kilometers range, he can't achieve solid tracking on the fast-moving MiGs, but he can force them to maneuver and burn their remaining fuel. He orders a barrage launch of 4 48 N6DM missiles, each one carrying a massive warhead designed to create a wall of fragments across the MiG's projected flight path. The enormous SAMs climb on pillars of smoke, each missile representing $2 million of Russian military hardware committed to stopping 2 Ukrainian fighters. The formation leader analyzes the tactical situation with lightning speed. Flying around the missile barrage means adding 40 kilometers to their route, impossible with current fuel reserves. Flying through it means threading between explosion zones with meters to spare. Both MiGs drop to 50 meters altitude, so low that their jet wash creates rooster tails in farm ponds as they streak past. The S-400 missiles detonate 500 meters above, their fragments raining down like metallic hail. A chunk of missile casing punches through the lead MiG's wing, but miraculously misses all critical systems. The target complex looms ahead, and the moment of truth arrives as both fighters light their afterburners, trading their last fuel reserves for the altitude needed for effective weapon release. The zoom climb pushes them through 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 feet, every foot gained improving the hammer bomb's glide ratio, but also making them easier targets for the multiple SAM systems now tracking their climb. At 8,000 feet, their weapon release computers finally show green, target coordinates locked, range optimal, all systems ready for launch. At precisely 0701 hours, 4 AASM Hammer bombs separate from the MiG's wing pylons in rapid succession. Each weapon weighs 340 kilograms total, a standard 500-pound bomb body fitted with the sophisticated French-designed guidance kit. The kit includes pop-out wings, providing a 15-to-1 glide ratio and an advanced tail section containing both guidance systems and a small rocket motor. The solid rocket motor provides 10 seconds of additional thrust, extending maximum range to over 60 kilometers when released from optimal altitude. The tri-mode guidance systems activate immediately, but GPS signals are completely jammed by Russian electronic warfare, forcing automatic switchover to inertial navigation using ring laser gyroscopes accurate to within 1/100th of a degree per hour. As backup, each bomb carries an uncooled infrared imaging seeker capable of recognizing pre-programmed target shapes, even through smoke or light cloud cover. During their 15-second powered glide phase, the bomb's flight computers make constant adjustments, with tiny control fins deflecting 30 times per second to maintain precise trajectory toward their designated aim points. The real sophistication lies in the SJU-64 intelligent fuse system. Unlike simple impact or timed fuses, this programmable system uses accelerometers to count structural layers as each bomb penetrates its target. It measures deceleration patterns. Concrete produces sharp spikes. Empty spaces show no resistance. Steel creates distinct signatures that the fuse can identify and respond to appropriately. The armorer had programmed each fuse differently based on target analysis. The command center fuse waits for void detection after penetrating 2 floors. The vehicle park fuse triggers immediately on surface contact for maximum blast effect. The safe house fuse counts down to basement level before detonation, each weapon optimized for its specific target set and desired destructive effect. The first hammer strikes the UAV command post with mathematical precision, its hardened steel penetrator designed to survive impact at 280 meters per second. The intelligent fuse counts first floor penetration, measuring 85 Gs of deceleration lasting 0.03 of a second. The second floor produces similar readings, then it detects the operational void space below. Deceleration drops to near zero as the warhead passes through the command center's main operations floor. The fuse waits exactly 15 thousandths of a second more to position the warhead in the room's geometric center, then fires. The explosion vaporizes several racks of control stations and communications equipment, while thousands of tons of concrete collapse straight down, crushing everything beneath. The second impact follows in the vehicle park, where the surface burst fuse detonates within 0.03 of a second of first contact. The infrared seeker had guided it directly onto a fuel truck's hot exhaust stack, and the immediate detonation creates maximum blast effect against the soft-skinned vehicles. The warhead's fragmentation sleeve sprays 6,000 steel fragments across a lethal radius of 35 meters. The third hammer strikes the wooden safe house, its fuse detecting minimal resistance as it penetrates through floor joists and support beams. Wood provides only 5 Gs of deceleration compared to concrete's 85, and the system counts through structural layers, waiting for the basement void signature. When detected, it positions the warhead for maximum structural collapse. The fourth bomb hits the maintenance warehouse, where the fuse identifies the large open space and automatically switches to airburst mode, detonating 3 meters above the floor for optimal fragment dispersal. 3 Orlan 10 drones undergoing repair are shredded by the storm of metal fragments that sweep through the building like an invisible hurricane. The destruction unfolds with devastating mathematical precision. 12 Orlan 10 drones operating over Ukrainian territory lose their control signals simultaneously as their ground stations vanish in pillars of fire and smoke. Without commands from their human operators, the drones enter autonomous return mode, beginning lazy spirals back toward a base that no longer exists. The entire drone control network for this sector, command posts, control vans, maintenance facilities, and operator safe houses, has been eliminated in 30 seconds of precisely coordinated destruction. The Ukrainian pilots have succeeded in their mission, but their own survival now depends on reaching friendly airspace before their fuel runs out or the pursuing fighters catch up. This strike represents more than just tactical success. It demonstrates how modern precision-guided weapons, skilled pilots, and innovative tactics can achieve strategic effects even against heavily defended targets. The elimination of this drone control hub will provide relief for Ukrainian civilians who have endured weeks of coordinated drone attacks, proving once again that in modern warfare, precision often matters more than raw firepower,